What are some questions that keep you awake at night? What are some things that a head could be attached to? That's sort of a question that keeps me up at night. If only there was a side-scroller action adventure wrapped in a fine 70s sci-fi upholstery that addresses this question. Let's talk to the guys to learn more.
This is a weird game.
Thanks, Joel. That was an excellent transition. Well done. Greg Rice.
Hi,
VP
man.
of Business Development
That's
for
my job.
Thanks for joining
Headlanders.
us.
Holy smokes.
Thanks
what
for
a
having us.
crazy game. What sort of drugs are you guys on over there? What's happening with this game? He's ahead. You're ahead.
I'm ahead, yes. So this is a, like you said, 70s sci-fi shooter. It's kind of a bit of a Metroidvania. Set in a future world where you're the last human head in a world full of robot bodies. And that kind of ties into the main gameplay mechanic, which is that you can launch your body off your head at any time and land into another robot body that's missing its own head.
Yeah, and it's funny. You said you're like the last organic thing living, so it's like you have all these different sort of items in the game that you can like attach to and have different abilities with.
Exactly, yeah, and so it's like a lot of landing on different types of bodies that have different weapons and different kind of ability to get you through certain gated doors. But there's also things like dogs, and you might see some certain things later in this demo that are not just robot bodies as well. So there are certain kind of puzzly elements to it sometimes too.
I can already tell you I want a DLC that explains the backstory of why this guy was like the last head. And that's
Is that the story of why? Is that what we're trying to find out? Is why he is just ahead?
Yeah.
And where the rest of him went?
There's definitely, well, we don't say too much about the story to spoil too much, but yeah, there's definitely a strong narrative element throughout the game that kind of pulls you through. It definitely opens up as you just waking up without any kind of knowledge of how you got there or anything, but you'll find pieces of the backstory as you go. So here's the main mechanic. I just use my vacuum ability to kind of suck the head off of this character, and then I can land in any of these bodies and take control of their body. So this is the pleasure port. So this is kind of a new section we haven't shown before. It's
nice.
Right after the opening spot that we have been demoing. So you just kind of crash landed into this space station that now the rest of the game is now this entirely connected map from here on out. And this is like civilians that are kind of just enjoying themselves in pleasureful activities. And this is kind of a quiet moment leading back into more of a combat section that we're going to try to get up to here later in the demo.
Nice. I hear there's a lot of Easter eggs in this, right?
I hope. I mean, you say it's a Metroidvania style game.
Yeah.
So we saw the map there.
Yeah, so that's something new we haven't really showed off too much. So this is the map as I've uncovered it so far. Actually, I just got to this new character, Mappy. So he's voiced by Richard Horvitz, who's the voice of Raz from Psychonauts.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
Nice.
People at home can hear that. But you can also pull his head off and dock into Mappy, take control of Mappy.
So is Mappy dead now?
Yeah, Mappy's brain lives on,
Okay,
right?
all right.
So you'll find other Mappies throughout the game. But this actually now adds a little bit more detail to our
I
map
see.
and shows off some new rooms that we can explore
So-
from here.
With the different areas of the map, when you say Metroidvania, like a hallmark of that is you find an area in the map, like a door that you can't get into or an area you can't reach, and eventually you'll come back with a new power, a new ability. In this, I assume it's a new body, or is there going to be
so
like
it's actually
defined
happening
ability?
right now. So this is a red door. You need a red shepherd body. Shepherds are kind of our enemies in the game to be able to get through there. Luckily, this has like a gateway I can come through as my head, but this is a whole section right here that I need to come back to with a red body.
Gotcha.
And that is just, that's one way we gate people, just with these color-coded doors, and they actually have color-coded shepherds that go all the way up the spectrum to purple. So there's red, orange, yellow, and the higher you get, the purple bodies can get into any door. The red can only get into red and above.
Okay,
like a
so it's
Star
like
Trek.
it's like a cascading level key card.
Yeah, but then there's also the suck ability that we've been using to rip the heads off of these guys is something that we unlocked in the first section, and that's something that gates you through some earlier areas. But later on in this demo, if we can get there, you might see some continuous laser beams that are blocking off later sections of the level that you can't pass yet. But there's an upgrade system that will kind of show a little bit of that eventually will let us get through those sections.
So your head will have more abilities than just sucking?
Yeah, so let's look at that. So this is another thing we haven't really shown off too much. So this is the vacuum drive that we unlocked in the first demo if we would have played through that.
Awesome.
And there's a branching kind of upgrade tree off of this. We've been picking up these little blue orbs, and I just hit that upgrade section that kind of gave us a bit more of the XP, so that blue bar. So we have enough here to unlock the melee power, which then kind of sometimes also unlocks little smaller upgrades off of it. But these are the main upgrade sections that'll actually kind of block off more sections of the level. So like this is a bounce shield, which I'm going to try to beeline for, and that'll let you get through some of those areas that have those continuous laser beams. But there's a ton of player choice and freedom in which they choose, except for those main branches. Those are the kind of ones that we use to gate through the main content.
So I assume that certain bodies will have different powers. Are those bodies going to be like, you just have to find them in the world, or are you going to have an ability to call them to you at some point?
Yeah, it's all mostly finding them in the world. So like we said, all these are kind of civilian bodies right here. You can talk to them. They all have their own individual dance moves, things like that. But later on, once we get into more kind of combat-focused sections, which I'm about to, yeah, a lot of them are more weapon-based. So it's like the red lasers, once you'll see those, have one bounce on them, but the higher you go in the spectrum, the more bounces those shots get. So as you get orange, you'll have 2 bounces and so on and so on.
Yeah.
To where
And that's not actually how science works, though, right? That's
No,
just
totally.
a game dynamic.
Totally.
I saw the trailer, and it was just a room full of lasers that wouldn't stop bouncing.
Yeah, so that's an interesting thing. When you're in these heads, or we're in the bodies, it feels like pretty Metroid, but when I'm flying around it, ultimately it kind of turns into a bit of like bullet hell dodging,
Right.
especially
Oh,
with
nice.
the later weapons. So this is a red laser. It just has one bounce, and you can kind of run and gun like this. But there's also precise aim modes where you kind of get a laser sight, so you can take cover between these things, kind of line up a shot, and
shoot
pick
us.
off somebody's head.
So you have like this like psychedelic retro futuristic art style. Like what was the drive behind that? Other than it looks awesome.
Yeah, so the project lead on this is Lee Petty, who is actually the art director for the entire studio, and he did stacking before this, and then also was the art director on Brutal Legend and Broken Age.
Oh, yeah.
He kind of came to this with a fully formed idea, and he's a huge fan of 70s sci-fi, and had this main mechanic kind of in mind, and it was something that we knew.
Wow, he's
It's a really
good.
unique mechanic.
Yeah.
From the looks of it, it seems that everything has a detachable head. Everyone.
Yeah, everybody's head can be removed. Oh man, I'm about to die, fly off. So if ever your body's about to die, you kind of have to eject, find a new body, and there, I just died. So you'll see what happens there, which is that it's very forgiving. You kind of get placed into the similar room that you were just in. But basically, if you're ever in a body, you're kind of safe for a little bit until that body explodes, and then you're kind of in flight mode until you can find a new body to attach to.
Right.
So some of this run and gun stuff that I'm doing might be damaging these bodies a little bit more than if I like line up a specific headshot, pick him off to where I can then save his body and still grab a fresher body.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. And so I just triggered a lockdown state, which is sometimes from time to time you'll get into these little more heated sections that have a little bit of a battle that you need to clear before taking off to the next room.
It seems like you have like a lot of diversity and sort of gameplay scenarios in this sort of window dressing you put this game in. It's really awesome.
Yeah, it's got a lot of ideas, a lot of things going on, for sure. It's a bigger game that we've had a team on for a while and haven't been showing too often, but it's getting close, and it's getting to the point where we're really excited about the amount of game there, for sure.
Yeah, it looks beautiful. How many hours of gameplay are we looking at?
I don't know, it's hard to say, but it's a beefy game.
For stupid people like Adam and Joel, it would probably be longer.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the meatier games that we put out recently. So yeah, this is an example of I actually found a machine I could dock in to turn off that scanner so that we can sneak through unharmed.
What sort of difficulty? Like that room kind of looked hard. I saw you died once or twice.
Yeah.
What sort of difficulty is this game going to be at? Like in the later sort of stages?
Yeah, I mean it's definitely an action game. It's a shooter. I mean it kind of ramps a little bit the difficulty just because of the body types getting stronger. But you also kind of are gaining a lot of abilities as you go throughout the game that are really making it a little bit easier. So like the ability to regenerate health in your body, the ability to kind of like create turrets by shooting in a direction and launching your head off and having the body continue to shoot in that direction. So you kind of get stronger as you go.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, you definitely might die from time to time, but it's always pretty forgiving with where it places you after that.
Yeah, that's a good dynamic that I'd like to see more of. Is just sort of that ability to sort of spawn near that area.
Yeah.
Especially for a game where you want it to be really playable.
Yeah,
like this,
sure.
and this seems very playable, and it's very puzzle centric.
Yeah, I'm all about hard games that like, if you die, you're starting right back where you were pretty much. You don't have to replay a whole lot.
Yeah, and so this is a hell station, which I could use to heal that body, but there's also another body in here that I think it looks like has a double shot. You'll see bodies that have spread shots, so there's other variation besides just the color of the body too.
Sure.
So this is actually now our second main upgrade here. So This is an example of one of those continuous lasers. And if I would have explored a little bit more before I got here, there would have been a few of these down below that we couldn't get through. But we're actually at the point here where we can get our main new next upgrade, which we haven't really shown
I like the
off.
perspective switch there, so I got a little closer.
Yeah, for sure. We do a little bit of playing around with the camera from time to time. So these are the kind of major upgrade stations you'll find hidden throughout the levels. And this is now unlocking the new ability, which is the bounce shield. And that's something you can use the right stick to kind of make a holographic shield around your body that'll be used to kind of deflect lasers back at it, both from enemies, but also these kind of in-game lasers that you can now find your way through.
So are you controlling the direction of that shield?
Yeah, so it's just on the right stick, and as you swing it around, it kind of follows the direction that you point. So that can be used to kind of actually aim the shots back to from the lasers. I could have kind of swept that laser around, but in later sections like this, you can even deflect lasers back at the guys who are shooting them.
That's cool.
Well, you get the sense that there's a huge amount of sort of diversity and the amount of sort of different things that you can interact with and what they do.
Yeah,
I'm
Sort of like if there's two chains of one of the ability of the add-on that you have, and then the sort of how your character upgrades. Greg, this game looks awesome.
Yeah, I love the art style.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see what sort of bodies we can land on. When can we expect to see what sort of bodies we can land on?
It's very soon.
Is
So
it?
yeah, it sounds like we're coming out late July on PlayStation
late
4
July.
and PC.
Perfect.
So,
Late
yeah.
July.
You said PlayStation Network?
PlayStation 4 and PC, yeah.
Perfect, man.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much,
Thank
Greg.
you
Thanks for
so
having
much.
us.
It looks really awesome.
Thank you so much.
And
Thank
we
you.
are going
Way
to
to go
go
back.
ahead and kick it back to the guys.
Yeah, the fancy hosts over there. Thanks.